Let us try to begin now. Now, can you all see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The assignment that you have to give to the principal, or is that you have to find out several leadership characteristics of Abraham and Joseph, and that we will be needing that one. And today is what day now? Today is 22nd. So you have to submit this, okay? You have to submit to the principal. And before, what was the assignment? You remember this, no? You are going to work on this, and before you work on this, I'd like to take few minutes so that you'll see how I work on Nehemiah. Yeah, the other day I told you I'll work on Moses and Joshua, but some characteristics of Moses I have already talked. That's why I'm just trying to show you instead of Moses. I just wanted to show you about Nehemiah. Okay, you all know Nehemiah?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, one way of finding who the people, when we study characters, I have told you how to find out, what is leadership by finding out what is not leadership. Likewise, when you try to study characteristics of people or their leadership quality, you have to find out in this way, okay? Just for you don't need to change your assignment. Your assignment is already done now. Let's see. Nehemiah, what he was not. Can you see? Can you see at the screen?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Now, the meaning of Nehemiah, as we all know, Yahweh has comforted. Now, Nehemiah is a man. We wanted to find out what he was not. So I put it here, what he was not. Number one, Nehemiah was not a prophet. He was not a priest. He was not a preacher or tailor. He was not an evangelist in today's, terminology. He was not a theologian or, a record holder. He was not a priest nor a pastor, not a deacon member, not even a local committee. That is who he was not. Okay. Now we have found out Nehemiah as a person, Nehemiah as a man, who he was not. Let's see then who is Nehemiah. Okay, Nehemiah is number one, a cupbearer, important officials with direct access to the king. These are actually two separate points. That is what we call it equivalent to the principal secretary or private secretary of a king or a prime minister, who has a direct access to the person who is on authority. Then a great performer, a great organizer. He was very successful in organizing the people. And not only that, he was a good planner, and he was a very good administrator also. These are his quality, the way we have to find out. And again, a great patriot. He was a reformer. He wanted to reform. He don't want things to be as it is as before, but he wanted to change. for the betterment of the country, the people. And very important thing for a leader, he was a man of prayer. Not only that, he was a man of prayer. That's why he loved God. And he loves his people. Many people in important positions, most of the time they tend to forget their own people. Many people who love to look down upon even their own tribes when they are lifted up. Okay? When they live in big cities or in better countries, they tend to forget their country, their people. For example, many Israelite people, the Jews especially, will get their degrees, their education in the West and one of the best universities in the world. When they finish that, more than 80-90% people return to their land because they love their people. Indians, when they go to the West and started learning in the best universities, instead of coming back with the resources and the knowledge that they acquire, 80-90% people are looking for placement in the West, not to come back to India. He was a man, he loved God, that's why he became a man of prayer, and he loved his people. Leaders who are servant leaders always are on the side of their own people. They never wanted to be, aloof from their own people, the people whom they serve. So that is very good quality of Nehemiah. Even though he was a very much in a high position in the government, he loved his people. He remembered his people. He could have enjoyed his people without suffering, but he cannot, just be comforted himself. He can't live alone comfortably when he looks at his people. That's why he loves his people. And I put it, a transformed and balanced Christian life for servant leaders. The heart has to be transformed. The type of things that we aspire, the type of things that we love has to be transformed to be a balanced Christian. Okay. And anyway, we'll talk about this Acts later on. Let me go again before you share your assignment. Now, let's see Nehemiah's life again, a little deeper in his prayer life. The present problem in Christian society is people love to pray. They pray and pray and pray and they don't walk. So Dr. M.Th had put it, very spiritual but not practical. Okay. A good leader, a good Christian leader should be a prayer person, at the same time practical person. What we saw in Nehemiah's life was that he prayed. Nehemiah began with a prayer, then he continued with prayer, and he closed with prayer. That we are going to see somewhere in the slide. So people wanted to be very spiritual. They pray and pray and pray and stay alone. Like sadhu, they wanted to be alone. But they are not very practical. Nehemiah was not like that. The second slide here is, some leaders walk and walk and walk. but no prayer. They are too practical but not spiritual at all. You'll see these two types of leadership, in your workplace. Some people are work addicted. They travel, they walk, and not much prayer. Of course, they'll say short prayer before whatever they do as a routine. So these are the quality you see in the lives of Nehemiah as a servant leader. Let me add some more point. Some people will sing and sing and sing. They enjoy, singing together, Langkom, Zaikom, whatever you call. But do nothing. Many of the Mizo group, are very much revivalists. They love to sing, but they don't want to sing alone. They enjoy singing only in groups. God's children really wanted to praise God alone also. And these people go together, sing and do nothing. I know one church group who, one cult group who started singing 2 years. Many of them become like beggars. Nehemiah was very, very balanced. Christian leaders like you and me, as you grow, especially your group, should be both spiritual and practical, like Nehemiah. We need to be very practical in our faith and in what we believe and in what we plan to do. At the same time, we should be men of prayer. We should men and women of prayer, so that we'll be very balanced, leader. Because he turned his prayer life into practical service. That is very, very beautiful. You see, if you read chapter 1, it's so interesting how he reacts to the situation of the people who lived in those areas. He turned his prayer life into practical service. John Knox says, "Give me Scotland or I die." That type of prayer, how can God ignore it? If you don't give me Scotland, I'm going to die. So many years he prayed together. He prayed. And finally there was revival in Scotland. You as a leader, yes, we are trying to do the leadership formation at the initial stage. Leadership formation has to be a balanced life with a prayer life, and that has to be practical, which is what we found in the life of Nehemiah. I'll show you one more slide. We have been talking about leadership is, involving with people. Leadership is people who can really take and, bring together the power of people. When he was about to begin his work, after a lot of prayer and fasting, in chapter 2 of Nehemiah, he said, "Let us arise and build." He invited people, he told them the situation how they are in. Then he invite and exhort the people. Let us. The let us is very important in leadership. It is not I, me, and myself. There are many leaders who drunk with power, whom I call them suffering from the I, me, and myself syndrome. You understand that? There are many leaders, unfortunately, around the globe who are suffering from a syndrome called I, me, and myself. Everything is I, me, myself. I'm doing that, I have that, I do that, I plan that. That is not servant leadership. Servant leadership will include every person in the area. Could be a young boy like Jesus. For the feeding of 5,000, Jesus did not use any of his disciples or any of their pocket money. For that matter, he did not take it from any of the men or women who are, some of the leaders there. He called a small boy and took 5 loaves and 2 fish, involving everyone. The young boy would be very proud. He would say, all these people had eaten because of my lunch packet. That is beautiful part. Nehemiah knows that in God's ministry, everyone has to be involved, everyone has to be challenged, and everyone has to be participate. That is the servant leadership attitude of Nehemiah. So he said, let us arise. For what? To build all the gates, all the fencing, all things that has already been, the remnants only, with the remnant people. Then leadership is God being with the person. We need to be aware that God is being with us. Chapter 2 verse 8, you have to note down that. What is leadership? What is servant leadership we talk about? Leadership is God being with the person. When you know that God Almighty is with you, you will always humble yourself before that God. Okay? That's why leadership is God being with the person. So you have to test it all the time. Is God with you nowadays in your ministry, in your studies, in your work? That is verse 2 of chapter 2 in our first part. Now, another quality of leadership that I wanted to tell you from Nehemiah is, if you read at chapter 2 of verse 2, the latter part, he saw all the extent of the damage of the wall alone. Okay. He saw himself. He moved out in the night and he saw all the damage. Right, he said, that's why we said, he saw privately the worst that had happened. If you tell your people worriedly saying that everything is gone, what can we do? Then people will be in chaos. They'll be confused. A servant leader who feels the presence of God in him will see the worst for himself. But if such things are leaked out to the people will become very scared. That's why he did not say all those, the things, the worst things to the people. Chapter 2 is very, very rich, very, very interesting for leaders. But in chapter 2, verse 18, he said publicly the best. You have to study, okay, very properly, chapter 1 and 2 initially, if you want to really know who Nehemiah is. He saw all the worst things, but he told the people, let us arise and build it. These are the things we can do. That's how, leader motivate the people. For transformation of community, there are 2 enemies, within and without. Sunblood, Tobiah, and all those people are the enemies. You can see those things here. Even if God gives you a task, very, very challenging task, he will not let you go alone. you will have plenty of enemies to challenge you. So, these are the characteristics we can find out from here. This is just the introduction of Nehemiah. I'll talk one more, I'll take one more slide and then we'll begin our assignments. See, when you face problem, how do you normally do? Salomla, can you hear me? Can you tell me when you face problem, how do you overcome? You have to unmute your laptop or whatever it is. Yeah. How do you overcome? Yes, tell me.
Yeah, according to my experiences, whenever I face any problem, I pray to God. Sometimes I share my burdens with the people who will be able to understand me and share my burdens with me.
Very good.
That's
Now,
how.
Michael group, tell me, how do you normally overcome, or how do you plan to overcome when you face problem?
When I face problem, in order to means for clear mind, I enter to my bedroom. I close my bed and I sleep. I
You
think.
sleep? You
I
sleep or you
mean,
pray?
I pray with sleeping means I mean meditation, like
Okay,
deep thinking. I used to go for how will I solve the problem.
I
So
see.
then the solution comes.
That is very interesting. You sleep and pray means you did not sleep over.
Not over. This is
Are
not.
you really awake when you sleep?
Yeah, I'm awake. That's why, sir, I overcome the problem.
That is very interesting
Yeah.
because there is a book called, The Battle with the Blankets. I don't remember the detail of that book. Some years ago, that is about prayer on bed. When you pray, when you get up and pray, you cover still with some blanket and you feel like sleeping again. How difficult it is to pray in bed. That is what the Bible, that book says. Then when you are about to sleep, then again, you cover with blanket and you try to pray and then you feel very sleepy. You did not know even when you say amen. That is about the book. Where is From and Ring? I want to hear from them.
Yes, sir.
How do you normally overcome your problem?
Mainly, sir, it really give me peace when I pray. Man, I depend on prayer. I don't even share to my parents and to anyone. I share first to God and I do it wholeheartedly. When I set my tears, it really gives me peace. That's how I overcome from every moment in every step that I take.
Very good, very good. Ring, who is the other one? She's still hiding. I want to hear from her also. Yes. How do you overcome problems when you face personal or whatever it is?
Uh, Sir, as for me, when I face this kind of problem, first I did is I do a fasting
Hmm.
and I pray to God. And sometimes if I cannot overcome or if I have so much, then sometimes I call to my friends who is very close to me
Oh, very
and
good.
I share to her all my problems. That's how, sir.
Hmm. It's nowadays it's not like the olden days. It's very, very important to keep somebody who could be your prayer partners. Even for us, though we share with our spouses our prayer concern, we did not tell all the problems we face to our spouses. Why let two people worry rather than one person? It's one way of management talk. So rather than my wife also be very much, confused and worried, why should two people worry? Then we handle ourselves. But the best thing is what we have found here is he said, God of heaven will help us. They are nobody. They don't have an army. They don't have anything to fight with. So his assurance is from God only. If you are a spiritual leader, and if God wanted to test you, the only assurance that we have is God himself. Okay, that's very, very important. We have problem, and that problem has to be overcome with assurance have that we have God. That is faith. Faith, when we talk about faith, we wanted to have some foundation to have a faith. When there is still some foundation, that is not faith. Because they say faith begins when all else failed. Okay, when everything is grounded, everything is gone, only faith will begin. Okay, I have this much of money and I have faith, I pray to God. No, you have this much and you pray, that is not faith, right? Then what he had done here in verse 20 is he said, we will build it. Why? We can build it. Why? Because he said, God of heaven will help us. His assurance is because of God, and his determination and challenging the people is because there is God. Then to the enemies, Sanballat and Tobiah and the other parties, he said, you have no part in this. We are not going to compromise with what God had told us to do and what God had really, assure us to do. People from all angles may come in and may, come and attack us. Even then, we'll say, that is not your business. Forget about them with uncompromising faith to God. That is what he is doing. Now, I have several slides, but these are only introduction I wanted to give you, so that when you have your own finding, let's see your own finding. What you have studied was Abraham and Joseph. Even if you have not find out who he was not and all that, that's fine. I'm just showing you one way, one tip of finding out the characteristics of people that you can keep in mind later on when you study, when you become pastor, that's going to be very, very helpful. Now, we'll begin on Abraham. What are the servant leadership characteristics that you have found in Abraham? Then we'll go back to Joseph. Mangi Babu is there? I didn't see you now.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, yes. Mangi, can you come in? What do you find? What do you find are very challenging characteristics of Abraham? It can be just the point, no problem.
Okay, sir. I'm unable to read the book. I tried to find out, but I could not. But what I read in the Bible, just I would like to share some few points.
It's only Bible. We don't prescribe books. So that you read more about the book. The book. That is what I wanted. Yes, tell us.
Yes, sir.
Some
So one of the character I found in the life of Abraham is faith. He has a great faith.
Okay.
When he was in the Ur, God called him, and he has just he has put his faith in God, and he left uh, his lane and came to the Canaan.
Mm.
So one of the character I found in Abraham is he has a great faith.
Wonderful.
And secondly, I found from him surrender life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Surrender life. He has a surrender life. Even he sacrificed his own son when God demand him to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the character I found from Abraham is surrender life. Then
Mm.
thirdly, I would like to share giving opportunity first to other. In Genesis 13, when they came with the Lord,
Mm.
he shared first opportunity to Lord
Mm.
to choose the lane. Though he
Mm.
was a leader and he led the people
Mm.
and they enjoy all the blessing through him, but still then he gave the very opportunity he could have get, he shared to others.
Very
Then
good.
fourthly, I found he was a compassionate. He was a
Mm-hmm.
compassionate in the sense when Lot was captured by the neighboring country, still he has a
Yeah.
compassion over Lot, and he sent his trained men to uh, how to say, to bring back them. So he
Mm.
has a compassionate heart that
Mm.
I found in the life of Abraham.
Mm.
Then he was a very hospitable. Means
Okay. Mm.
when yeah, when the angel came, he still has a mind of serving and
Mm.
giving what he has. So hospitable mind and heart he has.
Mm.
Then the sixth one, he has a humble heart. He was very
Okay.
humble, though
Mm.
he was a lord, and he has all the property, and he has all his servant and all. Still, then when his wife Sarah died,
Mm.
he humbled himself and he requests to the people of Hitti to give a
Mm.
land for his wife. So
Mm. Mm.
it seems that he has a humble heart, though he has a power. Still, then he humbles himself and uh, he requires the people to give the land.
Okay.
Then the other seventh point is obedient. He was very obedient
Mm.
in the sight of God. When God
Mm.
called him and whatever God demand him, he
Yeah.
was willing to obey all God want him to do. So he was
Mm.
a very obedient. Just I would like to point out the points, sir.
Excellent.
And the eighth
Excellent.
one,
Mm.
he was a very courageous. He
Okay.
has a great courage because uh, leading leaving his own land and coming to the foreign land, it
Mm.
was not easy for him. But still,
Mm.
then he was very courageous, and he has faith in God, and he was trying to do all. So it shows that he has a courage in his life. So
Mm.
one of the character it would be courageous, and the last one is. He was a very influential. He was very influential, and he could motivate the people
Mm.
because this what I would like to share from this point is uh, it was not easy for Abraham to leave his own people
Mm.
and uh, and even to carry out all his family member, but
Mm.
he was very influential that he could motivate all the family member and brought all those people in the foreign land where he could not and he have not seen. So he was very influential, and these are the some of the point I found in the life of Abraham, sir.
Very, very good. You
Thank
know,
you, sir.
one of the things that I have not noted in my own study is about his hospitality. That's very, very good. When the angels came, you know how he was willing to share, preparing, and that hospitality is very, very true. He is very, very kind to people. Excellent points, Mangi Babu. That's wonderful. Yes, good.
Thank you, sir.
Then who will share the next one for Abraham? Who is coming in? The point like that, only the point. Okay.
Sir,
Hmm.
I think Brother Monkey has shared almost all the points that I wrote here, and then
No problem. You can repeat it. No problem. Repetition in leadership training means more important characteristic. Okay. If all 10 of you say the same one, that means that is one of the highest characteristic. That's how we study. No problem.
yeah, even me, I point out only like 4, 5, 6 points.
Mm,
First is he is a man of faith
correct.
who is willing to sacrifice his own belief,
Mm,
his everything, relatives, and then everything, and he gave up just to follow the true God.
mm,
That is because he has great faith in God. And then number 2 is his unconditional obedience
mm,
to God, that is seen by his sacrifice. I mean, like when he was asked to sacrifice his son, he was willing to do it, even that.
mm,
And then number 3 is like he put his interests, I mean, he put other people, he think for others more than he think of himself.
mm.
That is
Yes.
seen by when he gave opportunity first, the best land to Lot, the best land of Sodom and Gomorrah,
Mm, very
the
true.
fertile land where he could have chosen actually for himself. And then, yeah, and the next one is hospitality. That is what I see, as
Mm,
our brother Mangi has already shared, but I noted it down. So let me just repeat it again.
okay.
Yes, it is seen by he was like pleading the angels not to go away until they have eaten something.
Yes, right.
That shows he has a heart to serve other people and a heart like to share his things with other
Mm,
people. And the last thing is intercessor. He is a great intercessor. He stood for the people. That is seen when the angel of God announced that Sodom and Gomorrah will be destroyed. He pleaded for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah to extend, or like not to destroy the land if God is merciful. He was pleading for the mercy of God. That is what I saw in Abraham's character as
mm.
a servant leader. Thank you. I don't have
Very good.
much
Very
than
good.
that.
You know, there are some similarities. That's why you know we can. When more people are adding the same characteristic, that means which receive the most number in the characteristics are always, you know, we put it number 1 in leadership training. Faith has come again. Unconditional sacrifice also has come again. Then he was for other interests than for himself, you know, looking to Lot. Hospitality also came back. And the new one who has not come is he was a great intercessor. You know, he prayed for Sodom and Gomorrah. He was actually bargaining to God from 50 to till 10. You know, when I speak in Manipur, I say Abraham must have been from Manipur also. He was very good in karataro, you know, type of bargaining, right? Please come down a little bit. You know, these things happen mostly in Manipur, not in other parts of the country or somewhere. So he was a good bargainer. And that you put it intercessor. That's beautiful. I always said he was a negotiator and bargaining things, you know. If he had gone to market, I thought he would be able to buy things at a very good price. That's wonderful, Salma. Then who will come next? I'm also noting down. We are going to documented. Okay. Who is next coming?
Sir, I will speak.
Yes.
Brother and sister, they speak very good, so I feel nervous to speak now.
Okay.
What I see is that Abraham was a honest person. He was very honest,
Mm-hmm.
honest with God, honest of his own word. That if he said that, yeah, he will do it for God. So he was very faithful in himself. A leadership quality, they must be faithful person or honest person. And yeah, the second is same. He have faith, strong faith in God.
Mm-hmm.
And the third is uh, he is very brave person and courageous person. He is, if it is required, he is willing to do everything for God.
Mm.
And he is very compassionate person. He willing to sacrifice. He has a willingness to sacrifice. And third or fourth, he has a hospitality behavior,
Mm.
and he is undaunted person. He never back down. He never feel discouraged.
Mm.
Undaunted person. And he has a strong vision, and he has a sense of justice and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's all my point.
Okay. Okay. Mm. He has a vision and a sense of
Justice,
confidence and
sense of
confidence.
justice, and
Mm.
confidence.
Okay, and a sense of justice, right?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now there are some similarities here, and I found out some a little different thoughts here about honesty and keeping of his words. These are part of his faithfulness. Even then, the words come in a different way. Faith is there, courageous is there, undaunted, committed, compassionate, hospitality is again there, and a new one is he is visionary, confidence, essence of justice. Can you say a little bit about these two, essence of justice and visionary? Can you add a little more on this? Would like to add it? Otherwise, we leave this way.
Why I say visionary is that when when uh, when God asked his own son,
Mm,
he is willing to give because he believe God that if God can provide him, he
okay.
can provide more if God
Okay.
wants. That kind of
Okay.
vision he has.
Mm,
That's why I
yes.
put vision.
Okay. Then essence of justice. Any example you like to add?
Mm, a sense of justice. What will I give? Mm,
In his bargaining with God about Sodom and Gomorrah, can also be part
yeah.
of this. Then also he wants justice for Lot. He wants peace with Lot's servants and his servants. So
Mm,
many examples could be there. Yes, that's a good finding.
okay.
Now, who is next?
I will share, sir.
Okay, please.
Okay, same thing, sir. What I have write down, most of
Mm,
the brothers and sisters they have shared.
mm,
I'm going to share this. Abraham is a righteous man,
okay.
and he is a person who seek his master.
Mm-hmm.
Here he he depend in God provisions and guidance.
Mm.
When he committed wholeheartedly to God, and another is he is a man of peace. Sister Solomla, she mentioned this one, but the point that she make is different and mine is different. I make as a man of peace, like setting a boundary dispute with his nephew Lord.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
make as a man of peace, and another is he is a quick acting warrior. Like quick acting warriors, in the sense he is a person who is aware of the others.
Mm-hmm.
That's the awareness of the others. Like when he heard that his nephew Lord was and his family was taken away from by the enemies. So in chapter 14, I found in chapter 14, there in verse chapter 14, verse 14, there as soon as he heard his brothers was taken captive, so he prepared army like his servant, and then he prepared 318 and pursued them into the dawn. So I can
Yes.
see that he is a quick acting warrior.
Mm.
And another is, yes, they already share this hospitality,
Mm.
compassion, these things. So only these three I want to share. So thank you.
Yeah. Mm. One of the things that we can, reward the what you have said is you talk about his help to his brother, his nephew,
If you Lord,
right?
yes,
14 and 14.
yes,
What we can also, I was thinking when you say that he was, in a way, very strategic in his thinking. I would also like to take a session on strategic thinking, which is very, very crucial for any leader. Strategic thinking and strategic planning, depending on one day we have lost one day. So we'll think about that. He is very strategic. Why did he take 380, right?
yes,
Why did he form that much? Why not less? Why not more? There may be some reason for, that strategical plan. So he is a strategic, leader. He plan, he see what is the strength of his enemies, and also what action has to be taken at what level, at what of, enormosity. So that could be, very strategic, right?
yes, sir.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Now the next one who will come in.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Let me see.
Okay, from yes.
Yes. Friends, they all have said already, but the things which I will not repeat some of the things which they have said, the common things. And mainly here, I would like to say which I have seen in the life of Abraham.
Mm.
That is, he was the one who introduced the living God, about the living God for them, for the Judaism. Here,
Okay.
before we all know that on those days, leading even the Abraham also was the background of the idol worship.
Yeah.
But the moment when God called him, he accepted and then he became a great transformational leader.
Mm.
Then he introduced the living God.
Mm.
Through him, then they came to know who is the living God.
Yeah.
And
Good.
then I have seen in him that he was a righteous man.
Mm.
He was a righteous man with wholehearted committed. Wholeheartedly, he committed to God. That's how I have seen as a righteous man. And then friends, yeah, they have said that he was a peacemaker. Then I have seen here when we all know that when we see in this world who has no child, who has no kid, they are full of depression and then they have no peace in their mind. But when I see in him, he has no depression or like he has no any like problem in his mind, but he give peace in his mind because of his commitment to God with wholeheartedly. And then I have seen in him that the faith which he kept, that is, he keep with confidence. He never lost his confidence in his faith. Because of that only, because of his confidence only, the faith which he keep, he could prosper. That's how I could see in his life. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Extremely important point here is he was, you know, the one who introduced God to his people.
Yes, sir.
God introduced himself to him, then he was transformed, and he was responsible for the other people's life. You know, that was excellent. That I have not noted it earlier. This is very, very good. Yes, his confidence was because he had faith in God. Wonderful. Very good point. Yes, who is next? Who's coming next?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you. Yes, please come in.
Hello.
The voice is clear, but I cannot see you, but I can hear you.
Hello.
Can you hear him? We can hear you. Maybe there is
Yes,
some.
brother,
Hello.
we hear you.
We
Yes,
can
yes,
hear you.
brother, we hear you.
We
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear
I
you.
was a bit lost, sir. Okay. Let's also share something about the past life of a man called Abraham, chosen by God. So, first of all, I would like to that who was Abraham, living his in the presence of God, and why is Abraham considered a patriarch of the Jewish faith that he lived with that type of character, and how is Abraham an encouragement to our faith in our day-to-day life as a Christian. So we love both Abraham and the characteristic that he left in the written word of God left. Abraham is the first of the patriarchs of Israelites, not of everybody believe. Moreover, he was the chosen servant of God. All God's chosen people of Israel are his descendants, not of. We all believe and agree. God chose him to live Ur, who was the first place where he lived, along with his family and relatives. And Mesopotamia is the particular place, the location of the place is a city. So God asked him to travel to Canaan. So that was the step he has to have. So nowadays Palestine, in world map is the name of this Canaan. So and become the fourth people specially chosen by God, Abraham, to be his people. So God promised him that he would become the father of many nations. So not of it quite agreeable and learn that the agreement between Abraham and God himself, that God spared the relationship, and this agreement was stated for first time in the book of Genesis chapter 12 verses 1 to 3. It is written in the word of God itself. So the Lord said to Abraham, leave your country in case that command to you and me. So what will you and think of living a life? So we have to leave the place where we live and go to unknown place where Lord will send us to. So God asked him, leave your country, your relative, and your father's family, and go to the land I will show you. So that was the first awesome statement given to him by God. So I will make you a great son. I will and bless you, and I will make you famous. Your name will become famous. And you will be a blessing to others, not only to he himself and the family he lives with, also for the life of others.
Yes.
So, and I will place you a curse on to harm you. That much strong statement was put on him by God himself, that how much he loved and cared for him. So here the story of Abraham is found in the book of Genesis 12, verse 25, and including 18. Follows Abraham's reaction. How did he react to these promises? That once Lord made this great promises, that how he reacted. So we could see that it is a story of ups and downs. A human being would become part of his life, because as a human being, so he would have thought how it could be possible for him. So God commands him to do something. So it will become so unpredictable. Moreover, it is so difficult as a human being thinking of our life, or thinking of our own capacity or ability, whatever potential that we live with. So in his case, what we think of that was that God made a long and difficult journey to Canaan. So God asked him to make a long and difficult journey to go to the land of Canaan. So there would have been a lot of obstacles, threats in the life of Abraham. And when it talks about that particular fate of his life, so the moment he enters the new land, after his arrival, the land is rocked by a mine. So first obstacle they faced was famine. After entering in a new land, famine. So famine was the first outcome disaster that he came across in his life. So Abu feels he has to go to Egypt to survive the famine. So in order to overcome such an inevitable incidents called famine, so he, made alternative plan to go to another place called Egypt, so that he and his family could survive. So he reacts as human being. He reacts. There was the deeper feeling that he within himself. He reacted in fear as he goes to Egypt. So let us imagine if this thing happened to you and me. So what will you and I think of obstacling? I mean, overcome all those obstacles, things like famines. It had not yet happened to you and me, but just imagine that it had happened in the life of Abraham. Once he moved to a new place, and after entering into new land, so he set fine, and he wanted to survive not only he himself, but also for the life of all the family, in his relative as well. So he had to go to Egypt to survive, in order to survive. So another is that Abraham reacted with faith as obstacles arise. Faith. So that faith is a living faith. He had a living hope in the Almighty God, and he to him that God can do something, God will do something, or maybe thinking God would do something, even the unpredictable, unknown future that he go through. And the last that on at two occasions he takes matters into his own hands, tries to manufacture this manufacture this. The instance is Genesis chapter 10, when he names Elijah of Damascus. And his households, when his heirs, his relative heir. So uh, in Genesis 16, he follows another ancient text and takes a concubine Hagar, who gives birth to Israel. So, and another thing that in cases God appeared to Abraham, and affirming his intent to give him and Sarah a real son. So now he debated against God. So thinking that why can't Ismail be my own descendant, mean the nearest one in his life to him. So he did not believe that he would have another name Isaac, that is the promised son of God. So there was an argument between him and God, and there was an argument between him and the family itself. So he did not believe that. So that woman, non-concubine Hagar, her son would not be the promised son of the life of Abraham. Instead, God is still, the time is still awaited to see the promise of God he would have in his coming future. It had exactly happened, after some time, that in older age, so no one expected that they were going to have son, because they have all grown up in advance in age. So after crossing almost 90 of age, they did not believe that God would, fulfill his mission, that he would have a promised son named Isaac. And last, what to say, Abraham becomes an example for us in our own struggles, with faith. So we are not supposed to live our life with that artificial faith, but it should be type of genuine faith of the life of Abraham. With the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, we can use Abraham as a model of our struggling faith, that at the end to comes a firm confidence in God's goodness and power. Is what we have in the word of God itself, in the book of Hebrew chapter 1 verses 8 to 19. Paul even uses Abraham as an example of how we are made with right God, because Abraham was maybe an upright man and dedicated man, servant of God, that how he could overcome all those uh, unwanted things that had happened or had arisen in his life. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, good. Here, God had made the first covenant between Abraham himself. And the covenant was that through that son that God is going to give him, his seed will be called. Then in Genesis chapter 12, God had asked him 3 things that he needs to lose. Then 7 things are the promise. The first call, if you look at Genesis chapter 12, that is, maybe we'll see tomorrow, as we conclude this. It is very, very interesting. The call, the sacrifice that he has to make, and the promise that God had given. Because for leaders nowadays, people talk only about the promise, okay, not the command. 3 commandments versus 7 promises. Nowadays, many preachers in the West talks about prosperities, and they talk about only the promise, abandoning all the commandment. Promise will be fulfilled only when the commandments are obeyed. That is very, very important for leaders and for every one of you. Can you hear me? You can all hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
We can't just speak about the promise from the life of Abraham also. There are things that he has to sacrifice. Then after obedience of the commandment, only then we can talk about the promise. We talk promise from the beginning to the end, which is very wrong theologically. So these are some of the points. And then also, should not talk about his move from, he was welcomed by the famine, that great famine. Then he had to move again to Egypt with all faith in God. God had never told him that there'll be famine. But, in a leader's life, there'll be things that will be coming, which will not be detailed A, B, C, D, E. Even in such situation, he did not fail in his faith. And about his relationship with Hagar and Eliezer, that will maybe we can discuss in the different, from different topics, because we can always talk about people who finish well or leaders who fail God. There are some things that you can study in each of the leaders that shows that no one is, perfect. And then because of that faithfulness, he become an example in the New Testament. Yes, that's good. Then who is that behind? Next, please.
I think we'll finish.
So we all finished there.
You all finished?
Yeah,
Okay.
two brothers did not join.
All right. Uh, I'll just like to give few comments because we have how many more minutes? Can we go for Joseph? I don't think so. You know, just wait for a moment. I'll show you about what we can see from Abraham. Yeah, it's here. Let us look at this. Can you all see this? This is very, very crucial.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can see.
Seto had raised about chapter 12. Verse 1, he said, now the Lord had said to Abram, at the time he was Abram, number one, get out of your country, two, from your kindred, and three, from your father's house. What? For what? Unto the land I shall show you. If it is you or me will say, show me the land first, then I'll go. Isn't it? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes.
Yeah, we want certainty all the times. We want visibility.
Yes,
This
yes.
is the beginning of faith in the lives of Abraham. Okay.
Yes.
He did not know where he was going. God did not tell him where he was sending him. But Abraham was very, very rich, and he has his own servants and own army. So he said, get out of your country. People refuse to get out of their country. Earlier, many Manipuris people don't want to go out of Manipur because of the rice and Singju maybe, right? Many Shillong people don't want to leave Shillong because they thought Shillong is everything. Even if bank clerks are promoted to manager, they said, let me remain as a clerk and let me stay in Shillong. So they refuse promotion because they don't want to leave Shillong. Maybe Kwai is very good in Shillong.
Yes.
I don't know, right? So many of us really loved our land, which are actually very dry and nothing could be available. For example, if any one of you are from Mizoram, I'm not sure. Mizoram, the songs, the Christian songs and the love song will always talk about the land, the hills, the beautiful hills. Okay. But Mizoram hills are not really beautiful. Because why we say that? We always laugh where we are from. God said, number one, get out of your country. From your family, leaving family behind is very, very difficult. Leave your father's house. Then I'm going to send you to the land that I'm going to show you, future tense. That's where faith begins. Now let us see the next one, the verse 2. Then, number one, I'll make you a great nation. When you read the Bible, always try to number them as a leader, then you will be very clear. The first promise is a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing, number 4. And I'll bless those that bless you, number 5. 6, curse those curse you. And number 7, in all families or not, you'll be blessed. See? Would you like to exchange with the first 3 verses, words? Do you really think that all these things practically come to him? His life was very difficult. So, as a leader, when we journey, the things that we need to know always is that, there will be, we will be brought to places where we will need God's help. See, these are the commandments. People wanted to stay in their own birthplace. People loved their village. The example of, you remember the example of COVID-19? Millions and millions of people had gone back to their villages in the hills, not even reachable by buses. They walk on foot from Bombay, Bangalore, but they went back to their villages. We call it home sweet home, whether it is sweet or red sour, but we call it home sweet home. He was asked to get out of his country. Very, very difficult. Countries is where you have a lot of memories. Where you are born, you have a lot of memories. Many love songs are about what they are born from, where and all that. Right? Johnny, you are from which part of Tripura are you?
Dhalai, North Tripura.
Dalai, I know.
North Tripura, Dhalai.
So you are from North Tripura, Dalai.
Yeah.
How you miss Dalai, right?
Yeah.
Dalai is not very good place actually for us. I have been that side. See, you value where you are from. But Dalai in North Tripura is not the best place. There are so many other places, even in Tripura itself. Is not it? That's how we value where we are from. God had asked him to go out. When you want to be his servant, you know, as many of you have said, unconditional trust in God will lead you to obedience. Okay? Leaving behind your kindred, your family. Get out from your father's house. That's very difficult. Mangi, you are from Bisantpur?
No, sir. I am from Thanga.
Thanga. Oh, yeah. Thanga, you may eat a lot of fish, right?
Yes, sir.
Thanga, in a way, is a small area, beautiful. Thanga and all those Sendra hills are beautiful. So for you also, you are a missionary. If they send you to Tripura, which Johnny loves very much, you may not love Tripura. Is that it?
Yeah.
Thanga is more beautiful than Johnny's place in Dalai. Dalai is nothing.
Yeah, sir. The place is not beautiful, but as I born there, so I just love.
That's what it is. You know, we have attachment.
Yeah.
Because of the nature, the area, the hill, and everything, and the people. You know, the attachment is always very strong. So people don't want to respond to God's call because of those attachments. Even if God said, I'll promise you, I'll bless you, you'll be a blessing. These are very, very difficult. So what I wanted to tell you, and I wanted to show you, is not to talk about this in detail. That later on, maybe if necessary, we'll try to talk. I want to show you one very, very important from that New Zealand, seminary, very big seminary, which I would like you to comment. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Now, look at this. The middle is dead John. Okay. Then dead or born John. This is where you are born. And your comfort zone, you see at the 2-second circle. This is Thanga area, this is Moirang area, where you have a lot of singzu, a lot of fish here. This is Dalai in North Tripura, where you laugh so much, you feel very comfortable. Yeah. This is the life of a servant. The curse of African people is you die where you are born. Keep that in mind, okay? The curse of one African community is you die where you are born. Means let you not be growing. You be as the same person as you were, okay? So if Johnny is going to die where he is born, he will not be in Maikuli, very beautiful town area, right? You'll die in this place only, Dalai only, not. So that curse is very, very strong. So people are very, very irritated if they're told you die where you are born. Because we have our comfort zone. Everything with strong attachment are here. When God calls us out, we don't know whether we should really go out. So many people wanted to not to go out of this zone and remain in zone. Mind you, many church election, association election also are covered by comfort zone. They would like to be posted in the best places. Okay, good presbyter, good pastorate area, where they are, school for their children, where they are English medium school for their children. The people don't want to go out of their comfort zone. But God told Abraham with point blank, go out of your comfort zone. Right? You go out, he said. This is what leaders need to know. We are fighting. I have told you at the beginning that when I was called, some of my friends were more brilliant than me, and we all wanted to be, in the civil service. We study, not wanting to be a civil servant, either in the civil service, in the IAS, or in the IPS, or in state service. So we all study very hard. And many of my friends were in the IPS and IAS, of course. And when I was called out for a full-time ministry in 1979, 9 September, I told God, that is not fair. Not that I don't want to live through Chandpur. For me, I have a plan of my dream, my own dreams, my desire, my childhood desire. So I told God, don't do that. You regret it. Let me get some very good job. And my wife is also a teacher in the school, in high school. We will support missionaries. And don't disturb me, I say. Very, very difficult to live. It was impossible. I don't know where I should go. I told God, I'm an introvert person, very, very shy person. What do you think that I'll tell people? I say. That's why, I delayed 1 year, 7 months. Finally, I become sick. And I was a cancer suspect. I was sent out from Manipur to outside hospital for cancer treatment. Then whether I like it or not, I have to say yes, very meekly. You see, very honestly, living off comfort zone is very, very difficult. So after that, because I want you to comment also, let me cut it short. If you move out of your comfort zone, travel, journeying with God, it is not a bed of roses, my friends. You'll be knowing. Once you come out of your comfort zone, it is groaning zone. You'll be groaning. You got it, Salumla? Once you go into, the call that God extended you, once you accepted that, instead of hallelujah all the time and praising God and praise and worship, you'll be groaning. You understand? Okay? Do you understand? Every one of you. The life of Abraham, if you look at it, he was really groaning. Problem after problem. Moses called problem after problem. All the time you are groaning. All the time you are crying. You don't feel like telling, people about your hardship. It's so difficult. In one of the meetings I attended, one of my old teacher, who was church secretary in Indian Evangelical Mission, sat next to me in a church service. When they collect donation, collection in the church, offering. He did not drop anything. The whole service I was disturbed. And I don't want to tell him, I don't want to ask him whether he was not having money or not. He was my teacher. He was a missionary, much senior to me. And on Sunday morning, we sit, in the elevated area of the church, being pastors. When collection box came, everyone dropped little. I also dropped some offerings, but he did not drop. The whole Sunday, I was disturbed. Worship. As soon as the worship was over, I asked my wife to go to their house and ask them whether they have money or not. See how difficult it is. Groaning John. My wife went and they have no money, even for collection of offering that Sunday morning, like Jesus, So I said, how much do we have? The amount that we have was so little, it was the end of the last part of the last week of the month. We have so little. I told my wife, no problem, go and give. My wife gives little that we have so that they'll survive. People who are educated, who are very qualified, who had gone through university, corridors, just because God called them, God allowed them to groan. He was groaning. This is where we all face, Then later on, once you go through this, you'll be growing. Groaning, growing. You got my point?
Yes, sir, yes.
Your life will not be all the time groaning. From groaning to, then you'll be sometimes defeated, then you'll defeat. You'll overcome. Then you'll really grow. You'll have something to tell people. If you are here in the comfort zone, you won't have much thing to tell. That is the importance of, Abraham's servant leadership. He did not know anything about servant leadership. Abraham did not know anything about leadership. No school, no education. But God called him out of his comfort zone. He was groaning. He had did something wrong sometime. He did so many good. But after that, it was a growth zone. So as we grow, as God called us to be servant, the best thing for us is we should be willing to come out of our comfort zone, to move into groaning zone, so that we'll grow in faith and we'll be able to, be a blessing to others. When my brother was in the civil service, God called him for a missionary. He left the job. They had gone to Karbi Anglong as missionary. Then later on, they have gone to UBS for BD. Then again, the church sent him to USA for doctorate. When they sent him, his salary was only 2,000. So there was no way they can survive. I took 2 of his sons with me in Guwahati and I let them study in college. The younger one was extremely brilliant. We sent him to Calcutta for MA in Scottish College. Sports person, never smoke, never chew betel nut. Fantastic boy. When his father returned from USA, he was doing his MA in Scottish College in Calcutta. He came home. What happened? Then, when they all stayed together with my children in Trichanpur, ICI headquarters, the executive secretary quarter. In the morning, he did not get up. He died in his sleep. My brother had gone through a lot of hardship, chronic malaria, the family with the children for so many years, groaning only, poverty to poverty, wanting so many things. Then the child, the most brilliant one, whom we wanted to be in the IS, that died in his sleep, dead in his sleep. We lost at what to say. He was like my own child. I look after him. What happened? You know, one old lady came to my brother and said, now you are crying, but you are promoted to the next level spiritually, he said. You are a top church leader. Many of your members will lose their children. They'll die of different sicknesses or accident and whatever it happened. Now you are qualified to be a counselor. God had put you into promotion. Don't complain, she said, and went back. You know, that is very true. That is very blunt, but very true. We are growing, but then then there is growing. Growing. Then what happened? Once you grow, only then you become a blessing. That you need to know. Remain in comfort zone, you will be creating a lot of problem for the church. You will be a hindrance to many people. Go and grow. You know, these two will always come. You grow again, you grow again. Then when you grow, you are a blessing. That is the example of Abraham. I think our time has ended, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this what you have collected, please put together there in the Bible college and add together. Even some of the points I have said, if you want, you can add together. That also will be a document. Tomorrow, God willing, and if nothing happens in terms of network and other things, we'll continue with what is that? The other one? Joseph.
Joseph.
Right. Then I'll also continue with Joshua, or if necessary, I'll finish that Nehemiah if you want. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you very much for your.
Thank you, sir. May the Lord continue to use you,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you so much. Let us pray on so that God will bless us. We wanted to be a blessing
Thank
to
you, thank you.
others, like God promised to Abraham. Nothing else. We suffered. We should not suffer in vain. Okay. None of you should suffer in vain. When you suffer, then you
Yes.
grow. When you grow, you become a blessing. So we should not worry
Yes,
about
sir,
it.
sir.
Right. Okay.
The
Thank
power
you.
of
Good
the
night.
knowledge of